Okay. So, almost immediately, within 2 months of my leaving, they uh, they published a suppressive person declare on me. But even prior to that, they obviously considered me an enemy and a threat, and I became a target. They hired private investigators. I was assaulted by these people, driven into bodily with a car, and terrified on a freeway in Southern California. All of that was within a few months of leaving. They came onto our property. They spied in our windows. They scared our neighbors. And they have continued to surveil me and follow me, stalk me ever since. They have sued me 6 times. The first time was in August of 1982, and that concerned what I had done in the Hubbard biography of providing documents to Omar Garrison. So I provided all these documents to Garrison, and then when I knew that I was a target and that I was fair game, and I'll explain fair game in a second, then I went back to Garrison, got from him what I believed I would need to defend myself, and I sent those documents to my attorney. And by that time, Scientology had stolen a bunch of photographs that I had and told me to get an attorney, which came across as a threat. And I knew that I needed to protect myself, and indeed the documents did protect me, because the judge in the case ruled that I was justified in getting the documents from Garrison and delivering them to my attorney, and that the documents showed that L. Ron Hubbard was virtually a pathological liar when it came to his history. The judge also condemned the practice and policy of fair game. And fair game is an English term which means that the target is a legitimate target for attack and pursuit. And that is how Scientology interprets it, and there is no limit that is put on what Scientologists can do and what they have done in order to fair game someone. So, as I say, I've been assaulted a number of times, and they have framed me with crimes. They've tried to have me criminally charged on false charges, concocted charges. They've entrapped me. They've run covert intelligence operations against me. They've spied on me and my family. And they've published a mountain of black propaganda about me around the world. The first lawsuit, as I mentioned, resulted in a very famous decision in which I was essentially exonerated, and Scientology was condemned for its practice of fair game. But I have been fair game ever since. In they took the content of my PC folder, of my auditing files, and this is supposedly confidential. It's treated, so they say, in the way that confessions in the Catholic Church are treated, so a priest does not divulge what the penitent person has said. Scientology does not go along with that at all, despite their representations. They took out whatever they wanted out of my auditing file, invented more stuff, and presented that to the judge, to lawyers, to other people. So that I consider, that practice I consider one of the most evil of Scientology's practices. It's a complete betrayal of the trust that people put in the organization. Their priest penitent privilege is utter fraud. So in 1986, there was a settlement that was arranged in which the litigation, my litigation with Scientology, was supposed to end, and it was supposed to end for 20 other people who were also Scientology victims and fair game targets. So everyone was happy to have this thing end, and I didn't want the battle with them to continue. A lot of the information that I have already had come out in trial or in various newspaper media articles. So there wasn't anything more that I had to say. So it was time for fair game to end. And Scientology promised that they were ending fair game forever against everyone. My own lawyer, he was fair game. So they had harassed him and his family. They had published black propaganda against him. They framed him with false sworn testimony, accusing him of trying to rob $2 million from L. Ron Hubbard's bank account. It was a complete invention. He claimed that they had tampered with his private plane and put water in the gas tank. So he was desperate because of threats to his family. He was also desperate to get out of this. So he told me that, and they presented this document, and this is the famous settlement agreement, and you can find that on my website. He told me that this thing is not worth the paper it's printed on, that you cannot sign away your constitutional rights, but that I had to sign so that fair game would end for everyone, and particularly for him. So I had to sign in order to have fair game against my own lawyer stop. He promised that should anything happen, he would be there for me. But he also signed a contract with Scientology, and he was not there for me because immediately after I signed, they continued to fair game me. They provided a mountain of black propaganda about me to the Los Angeles Times within days of me signing their settlement agreement. And to this day, I know that that contract is unlawful. You cannot contract away the rights that they say that I contracted away, leaving me unable to defend myself, so that they can say whatever they want about me around the world and I cannot respond. The contract contains a penalty of $50,000 per utterance. So if I even say the word Scientology, it's $50,000. Talking to you is $50,000. I told my lawyer, I cannot sign this. Now it's been 17 years of my life. I was inside for 12, I've been out for 5. How can I not talk about the last 17 years of my life? He assured me, Gerry, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. Nevertheless, they have gotten away with it. They have been able to get another court unlawfully to enforce this. And for me to say as little as the word Scientology, so there's no minimum on it. You cannot sign away the right to defend yourself against future attacks. It's unlawful. You can't, there's no such possibility. Additionally, Scientology is a religion. How on earth can you sign away your right to talk about your religious experiences in a religion? And everything that I did was a religious experience because Scientology says it's a religious experience. Scientology says that working in the Sea Organization is a religious experience. What court in the world would enforce a contract which prevented someone from talking about his experiences as a Christian and charge him $50,000 for saying the name Jesus Christ or uttering the word God? It's impossible, but they got away with it, and they got away with it without a trial. So I've never had any trial, but they obtained court orders, a judgment against me for hundreds of thousands of dollars, which bankrupted me. In the bankruptcy court, they sued me again to prevent me from discharging that debt of hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bankruptcy court. Fortunately, the bankruptcy lawyer could not be bought or manipulated or messed around with like they did with other judges. So I do not respect the order, the California court order, and I refuse to be silent. It is absolutely unlawful. They obtained it by unlawful means. So I'm completely happy. I feel completely within my human rights to talk to anyone about my experiences in relation to Scientology, my knowledge of Scientology. And now it's the last 43 years of my life. Cannot be silenced about that. Sooner or later, I will take care of these orders against me. Not only is it $50,000 per utterance, but I now have jail sentences against me because I disobey those court orders. So they obtained jail sentences against me. I was able to get those jail sentences dispensed with. Then they found another judge who reinstated them, some corrupt judge. And there's lots of corrupt judges in the United States. And Scientology has great, powerful connections in the Justice Department, in the whole judicial system, in the government, in intelligence, in law enforcement. And that's really the problem today for me, is the support that Scientology gets for its criminal activities from the federal government of the United States of America. Anyway, they have disseminated black propaganda about me and tried to have criminal charges brought against me with law enforcement, local law enforcement, with the LAPD, with the Los Angeles District Attorney, with the FBI, even in Russia. They tried to bring criminal charges against me for doing something that I did not do. In Germany, they again surveilled me, spied on me, published black propaganda about me, and terrorized my friends and me on Autobahn in Germany. And that was in 2003. In the little town of Chilliwack, British Columbia, they leased an office space right across the street from where my wife and I were living, and they spied on us for over a year. And then tried to entrap us into some kind of a videotaped operation. I believe that they are still in Chilliwack. They still surveil me. They still intend evil toward me, and that me, my wife, my friends, my family are still at risk from those people. Well, they really are the same goals that Hubbard had, and that is money and power and the ability to victimize whoever they want to victimize. So they are driven by this lust for power and malice. It is a malignant organization that intends evil toward people and practices evil toward them, conspires against them. The organization actually constitutes a criminal conspiracy against rights, against human rights. So it is a malignant organization, and their drive for power is to do evil with that power. Not the need for power to do good. They do good, apparent good, in order to get power, in order to do evil.
And do you believe, as some critics have stated, that it's Scientology's goal to take over the world?
Absolutely. There is no limit to the power that they seek. They seek total world domination.
Okay.
Well, anonymous as a concept is actually very brilliant, and it has tremendous potential far beyond Scientology for doing real good and making real changes in the world. It also, because of its anonymity, it's extremely easy for bad hats to get involved to do evil. So anonymity itself is a neutral concept. It can be used for good, it can be used for evil. The people that I know, that I've met personally and individually, have been some of the best people I know. They have real genius, they have good hearts, they have great ideas, they're a lot of fun to be with. I feel very close to the Vanonymous people. That's the anonymous cell or group in Vancouver. They call themselves Vanonymous. And they have made it possible for me to be safe in protesting Scientology. So whenever possible, I have joined their monthly protests in Vancouver ever since 2008, and it's a lot of fun. What they have done all over, Anons all over, it's like having thousands more pairs of eyes to keep an eye on Scientology. And I have trouble with some of the things that have been done in the name of Anonymous, but I think that anonymous people themselves have the same trouble with the same things that have been done using anonymity to do bad things. But I support those guys, and they support me, and I love hanging out with them. They are not what Scientology claims. I object strenuously to Scientology's characterization of them as terrorists. It is simply not true. And even like here, the anonymous people who have gathered here on this weekend in Dublin have been just fantastic. They've been extremely well behaved. They've been fun-loving. They've been supportive. And they bring tremendous energy. And they represent, as far as I'm concerned, I'm 65 now, so, my generation is like passé. So they really are a core of the next generation and the people that we have to depend on their ideas are going to be the ideas that are going to be in society. And they recognize the same societal problems and dangers that I've recognized for years. And they have their way of dealing with it. I really don't have the luxury of anonymity. I'm not anonymous, but they need to have people like me in order to even exist. Because if Scientology did not produce victims, there would be no need for Anonymous to do any of the things that it does. Victims like me are the reason for Anonymous to fight Scientology. So we have a very symbiotic relationship, and I think a great relationship. And I look forward every month to protesting with them, and I've protested with anonymous people, in Germany and in Canada, and not sure if other places, but I've done a number of protests around the world, and they're always fun, they're always creative, and good people.
Question I want to ask you is obviously your reason for being in Dublin, Ireland. If you could tell me about the Dublin Offline conference which you took part in on Saturday. Just as a speaker, any feelings you have about it, anything at all?
Okay. I knew, because I watched the way that things are going on the internet in the Scientology opposition. So I knew that someone had it in the planning stage, or this great idea. And then a very good friend in Canada asked me if I'd like to go. And I considered it for a bit, and then thought, well, if I can combine it with some other activities, I think it would be great. And it has been great. And I'm very grateful to him for making it possible. I'm grateful that the organizers included me as a speaker, because it takes a little guts to do that, because of the threat that comes with associating with me and me associating with others. And I think that the conference was carried off extremely well. I was very grateful to meet a number of people for the first time, people who I'd known about and who I have great respect for. Again, lot of fun, good times to meet Anonymous from all over the planet. And I am impressed. I think that it was just a tremendous weekend. Part of, it happened in the same week that L. Ron Hubbard's granddaughter apparently leaves the organization. David Miscavige's father leaves the organization, and Katie Holmes, leaves Tom Cruise and takes Surrey with her, I guess. So there was a lot of action beyond Dublin that was happening. And just the fact of coming to Dublin, coming to Ireland. Wow, I have a whole bunch of, Irish friends and connections now. And it's been a real pleasure to see the place. I got another day here, so I'm going to really do some walking around your fair city. And I think it was brilliant, and I'm just grateful to everyone.
If someone wanted to join Scientology, what would you say to them?
Don't. I suppose you're looking for more than that. Okay. I think that really, like the antidote or the other option from Scientology is wisdom. Like, go for wisdom. Find out what wisdom is. Find the wisdom within yourself. Scientology is actually stupidology. It'll make you stupider. Don't go there. Wisdom is impermissible in Scientology. Wisdom is impossible in Scientology. You cannot find it there. You can find wisdom within yourself if you're in Scientology, and the first wisdom you have to find is the wisdom to get out of Scientology. But wisdom is what's valuable. Scientology has no value whatsoever. There is nothing in Scientology of any value that you cannot get somewhere else. Don't go into Scientology. Opt for wisdom. Find it. It's within yourself. It's out there. But don't go to Scientology unless you want stupidology, in which case Scientology may be for you. But it isn't, because no one should be rendered stupid by a corrupt, immoral organization, by a useless technology, and by following a corrupt, immoral, pathologically lying cult leader.
And Gerry, do you have any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to say?
Well, good luck with this documentary. I can see that you've put a tremendous amount of work in it. You've educated yourself about Scientology. I trust that you will not now go to the Scientologists and sell them all the raw film, because you'll probably make more from them than you could get marketing this thing. But the very best of luck.